A couple of weeks ago, I was on the call with my CFO friend, Brian Weisberg, and he said something that's been rattling around my noggin since. For a normal B2B software company, a deal takes 6 to 8 months to close. So, whatever your sales team does this quarter, there's almost nothing to cash this quarter. Your next 13 weeks are already mostly spoken for. They're sitting in your balance sheet, waiting to turn into cash. The invoices you already sent on one side and the payroll and vendor bills you already owe on the other, which means a near-term cash forecast has nothing to do with predicting sales. It's about predicting timing and behaviors and when does the money actually land. And this is the part where everybody gets completely cooked. Your invoice will say net 30, and yet your customer hasn't paid you in 30 days since the Obama administration. They pay in 55, sometimes 70. Net 30 is just a story you've been telling your own forecast, and your forecast, it'll believe you. So today I'm building a 13-week rolling cash forecast out of 8 different messy piles of data. And I'm going to show you a company that is profitable, looks perfectly healthy on the P&L, and still trips a covenant on its bank loan, all because one whale of a customer pays the way they actually pay instead of the way their contract says they will. So let's build it. A quick one on the why before we open Excel. So 13 weeks is a quarter. I love it because it's the rare forecast that manages to be honest and useful at the same time. It's short enough that you can actually nail it, since most of the cash is already locked into the balance sheet instead of riding on some heroic bookings number that you're praying lands in week 11. And it's long enough that when you spot a problem coming, you've still got room to do something about it other than just panic. And that second half is my line, not Brian's, but he'll let me keep it. The mechanic itself could not be dumber. So start with the cash you have, add what comes in, subtract what goes out, and whatever's left is where you start next week. Do that 13 times in a row. The math was not the hard part. The hard part here is that this data lives in 8 different places, like I mentioned. And good thing we have AI, because AI is great at disparate data sources. And none of the data is going to immediately agree with itself. And the timing of every single line, there are some judgment calls in here that you have to make on purpose. So our patient today in this walkthrough, in this tutorial, is a fictional company called Meridian Software. So they are 24 million in ARR. They are profitable on paper, and they are fresh off a refinancing that came with one tripwire attached, a $500,000 minimum cash covenant. So they've got to keep at least $500,000 in the bank or they're in technical default on the loan. All right, so let's go through this mess that landed on my desk. These are the building blocks. All right, so it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tabs. Let's go do the first. So first tab is bank and facility. So 2.35 million in the bank to start. The revolver is a $2 million facility with 1.3 already drawn. I've got 700 grand of room left if things get ugly. There's a covenant, 500,000. That's the floor. We cannot fall through. Checking account, savings account, savings account. Let's look at AR and open invoices. What are we dealing with here? So this is the raw NetSuite export, and look at the terms. The number 30 by itself, net 30 in lowercase, doing receipt, and a few that are just blank. Same payment term, written 5 different ways. Looks like 5 different people had a hand in this. Initech, booked twice. One is Initech, one is Initech LC. Same invoice number though. That's a duplicate. We got to get that. There's a credit memo sitting in here for Hooli. Shout out Silicon Valley. And half of the expected pay dates are empty. Okay. So this is a bit of a mess, but we got the raw data. Let's look at AR. So this one's pretty simple. This is everything going out, vendor bills, the SaaS stack. It's tagged 3 different ways because, of course it is. Cloud infra, rent, SaaS, marketing dollars, Meta. Everybody's paying Meta. July is 3 payroll runs. Go figure. Not 2. The 3rd, the 17th, and the 31st. Most months have 2. Great catch. That extra run could wreck us if we don't catch it. Let's look at other outflows. D&O insurance, tax installment, security renewal. D&O. Gotta have it. Investors make you have it. And then a bunch of stuff that piles into the last week of July. Okay. What is this tab? We got actuals week 1 and 2. Okay, cool. Well, so this is what actually happened, what already closed, because we're mid-quarter, which is important. First 2 weeks, like I said, already happened. We're mid-quarter. So half of this forecast is real and half is a guess. The skill that we're working on here is rolling cleanly from one into the other without lying to ourselves. So that's the pile. We've got 8 sources. None of them totally agree. And the single most important number in the whole thing, the day Northwind's cash actually shows up. That is buried in a history tab that nobody is probably reading. So we're going to see if Claude can catch this and read it. All right, same move I always make. Before I build anything, I open Claude desktop and I make it think with me first. So I call this Claude eating Claude. So I work out all the hard calls right here with the full data in front of it. So by the time I'm in Excel, I'm building instead of guessing. So I'm going to paste my first prompt in, okay? I'm building a 13-week rolling cash forecast. I've got data from all over, a NetSuite invoice export, 12 months of collections history, a contracts database, I built by hand for my biggest accounts, our AP aging plus vendor agreements, a payroll calendar, and a list of lumpy one-time payments. I also have a $500,000 minimum cash covenant on my revolver that I cannot breach. Before we build anything in Excel, do two things. First, audit this data. Tell me what's dirty, what's duplicated, what's missing, and what decisions I need to make. Second, and this is the important one, look at my collections history and work out how each customer actually pays versus the terms on their invoice. I don't want to forecast collections on nominal net 30. I want to forecast them on real behavior. Give me an average days to pay per customer and flag anyone who pays well off terms. So I'm going to tap this, let it cook.
2 minutes later.
All right, let's see what it found. So auditing the data, our duplicate invoice, caught it. This one would have cost you invoice 2460 shows up twice. That's Initech. Great. Decision drop one. Customer names that don't match. Northwind Traders, Acme Incorporated. Nice. Terms are entered 5 different ways. Net 30, net 30, 30. Good. Normalize those. Credit memo, not a collection. Remember that one? Hooli. Not cash coming in. It's credit you owe them. So we're not actually going to get cash there. Missing expected days. Globex is already past due. Part 2. How they actually pay versus what the invoice is. Globex, remember? 70. Chronic, worst offender. Northwind, 58. Severe, and it's your biggest account. Man, this thing is good. 2 customers are lying to your forecast, and they're not small. Globex pays 70 days, more than double its terms. You bums. Northwind is on net 30 and has never once paid before day 55, averaging 58. I'm going to say, ask me the questions to respond to here. It's asking the right questions, but I get frustrated sometimes on Claude. This gives me a laundry list. It's like, make this easy on me. Yes, drop the dupe. Default bank, default to net 30 up. Apply yes, apply Huli. Forecast collections and actual payment behavior, not nominal terms. Yes, use behavior. That's the whole point of this, right? Long tail of small monthly billers. What weekly tops down number should I assume? So this is my friend Brian's point, and it's a really good one. You model the whales one by one because they move the needle, and you forecast little monthly accounts tops down as one steady weekly number. I think that's really smart. So I'm going to choose 35,000 a week. That's the bottom of the book. Okay, locked. I made 5 decisions here. One Initech invoice, blanks default to net 30. We got the Huli thing. Now I need to give it a new prompt to actually build what we need. So it vetted the data. It's clean now. Here's what I'm going to tell it to do. Build a 13-week rolling cash forecast starting Monday, June 1st, 2026. Collections. Use the cadence table we just built so each receivable lands on the customer's actual days to pay, not nominal terms. Split collections into 3 lines. Open AR, contract whales, and a tops down long tail at 35,000 a week. Disbursements, pull from the AP, payroll calendar, and one-time tabs. Split into 3 lines, payroll and comp, OPEX and AP, and taxes in one time. And I'm going to give this to everybody in the mostly metrics post for all the paid readers. Map every item to the week the cash actually moves. Structure each week as beginning cash, total collections, total disbursements, net change. I won't read the rest to you, but what I'm doing here is I'm constructing a very specific prompt using Claude to feed to Claude. What I did was I did a brain dump of what I wanted to beforehand, and it came up with this prompt, which is very on the nose and should give it enough rope to build what I need.
2 minutes later.
All right, so what this is, a near-term liquidity forecast does not predict sales. Over 13 weeks, a B2B deal takes too long to close. Yeah, we know that net 30 is a lie, right? So this is based on behavior. It's got some assumptions. So it's saying that the punchline is going to be on nominal terms. Meridian clears the covenant the whole quarter. On real payment behavior, the 480,000 Northwind invoice slips from week 9 to 13. Wow, it came up with a chart here within Claude. This is crazy. So as you can see here, this nominal terms is what we think people would do. It's the red line, and it looks a lot better. The green is based on their actual behavior, and you can see it breaches this purple line, which is the covenant floor, the 500,000, and we temporarily go under it, so that's not good. The data that it has here is going to show that. So let's check out the rolling 13-week forecast. This is cool. So remember, there are 13 weeks. You got weeks 1 through 13, and it's labeled the first 2 weeks as actual. That's great. It does the corkscrew here. And down below, if I check this covenant status, okay. But then this is that breach that we just saw in the graph. Because remember, you need a minimum of 500K. This is built really beautifully. If you remember, we had the beginning cash balance to start, and then you kind of corkscrewed out with everything from collections to contracts. You remember, we forecasted the contracts for the big dudes separately from the long tail. and made the $35,000 call for the long tail, which saved us time. They don't really move the needle. Then the big disbursements or cash out the building or payroll for our people, OPEX and AP, taxes, and one time. Nice. So broken in those 3 lines. I love this. Like on nominal terms, what they say they're going to do versus what really happened. And that's what we saw in that image. That's what made this chart. Picture's worth 1,000 words. First breach in week 11. Weeks in breach, and we're under for 2 weeks. And here's the assumption tab. This is cool. So now you can take this and do whatever you want in terms of flexing. Like, maybe your revolver is bigger. You have more headroom. And then at the start of each 13-week period, you can actually change the beginning cash balance. I mean, like, it should be what you ended the previous one at. You can change that. And then payment behavior, remember that? Nominal versus actual days to pay. Nice. Collections. This is when each receivable actually becomes cash, which is important. It ain't real till the check clear, folks. And then this is disbursements. So this is money out the door, remember? So just one more time. You get the summary, readme, you get the 13-week forecast. This is our Bible here. It's short enough to be accurate, but long enough to be helpful for strategy. And then assumptions, this is where you can toggle it. You got money in collections, then you got money out, disbursements. And then you get the variance. This is the roll. So this is actuals will replace the forecast, and you reforecast forward. So that's why it's a living and breathing document. One more thing, because it's a rolling forecast for a reason. A 13-week you build once and admire from a distance is kind of worthless by week 3. So I want you to pay attention to that variance tab that I just went over. And I want you to take whatever you build and try to keep it alive. So what I would do with my controllers every Monday, we would do 2 small things. We would drop the oldest week off the front and bolt a fresh week 13 onto the back. So we're always starting 13 weeks down the road. So every start of the week, we have 13 more weeks of runway here. And then we swap last week's guess for whatever actually cleared the bank, and we can look at the variance there. We forecast them off the real numbers coming in. So the collections were off a little here. A vendor ran heavy there. Net miss across 2 weeks. It's just a few grand on a $2 million base. So that kind of accuracy is the only reason anyone lets a forecast help you make decisions in the first place. You earn the right to deliver week 11 bad news by being dead on in weeks 1 and 2. So I think the beauty of this model is it gives you a lot of credibility, and it gives you something to speak to. So that's the 13-week. It's actually the very first thing that I built when I became a CFO, because I wanted to learn how money entered and left the building. I don't know. It was keeping me up at night, honestly, because I had all these messy data sources. What I didn't have at the time was Claude and AI. So what we were able to do is take these 8 messy piles and create one cadence and table that tells us the truth. And a covenant breach, we were able to spot a full month before it showed up to ruin the day. So if I were you, here's the thing that I would do on Monday morning. I would pull your last 12 months of collections and have Claude tell you how your customers actually paid. And before you build a single cell, it's worth doing. I will bet you a Yeti mug the number is not net 30. If it is, write in. I doubt it. And if you want this thing running on its own, instead of you rebuilding it by hand every Monday like a chump, that's where a tool like an Abacum could help you pick it up. I know Brian uses Abacum. He's very happy with it. Claude builds the brain, the cadence in the contracts database, and then you can have Abacum, your FP&A tool, run off your live actuals so it isn't stale by Thursday. Everything you watched is in the file for paid readers. I've got the link to the actual article online. Go try to break it. As always, none of this is intended to be financial or legal advice. I'm just a guy making fun AI videos in his attic. So do your own homework, call your mom once a week, and drink lots of water. Peace.